Ambassador ZYX Thrall of the Galactic Council straightened his crystalline carapace as he reviewed the files one final time. 37 species had joined the Council over the past millennium, each following predictable patterns during first contact. The Vorthak immediately challenged the strongest ship. The melody burst into song. The Kethmori demanded bureaucratic protocols. But these humans had done something unprecedented. They had said nothing. For 72 standard hours, the human vessel Endeavor had simply maintained orbit around the diplomatic station. No hails, no demands, no threats. They responded to direct communication with only bare minimums. Acknowledgement, confirmation, requests for docking coordinates. Ambassador, his aide Krillvek clicked nervously. The silence is unsettling the other delegates. ZYX Thrall's compound eyes fixed on the view screen where the human ship hung like a patient predator. How so? The Vorthak tripled their security. The melody went silent, something about discord in the cosmic symphony. The Kethmori keep filing protocol complaints, though technically the humans violated nothing. The ambassador's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. In 800 years of diplomatic service, he had learned that species revealed their nature not in what they said, but in what they chose not to say. These humans chose absolute silence. Sir, the communications officer interrupted. Transmission from the human vessel. On screen, the holographic display revealed a single human bipedal bilateral symmetry, forward-facing predator eyes. The being appeared calm, almost serene, with graying hair and weathered features. Greetings, the human said simply. I am Captain Marcus Webb of the Earth vessel Endeavor. We request permission to attend the scheduled diplomatic assembly. 30 seconds. No elaborate introductions, no cultural exchanges, no grandstanding. Just a simple request delivered with quiet confidence that made ZYX Thrall's skin crawl. Permission granted, the ambassador replied. Captain Webb, why the prolonged silence? The human's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those predator eyes. We were listening, Ambassador. You learn more with your mouth closed. The transmission ended. Krillvek's bioluminescence flickered anxiously. What kind of species remains silent for 3 days during first contact? ZYX Thrall stared at the human ship, cold understanding crystallizing. The kind that doesn't need to speak to be heard. The kind that watches, learns, waits. Preliminary scans showed standard diplomatic configuration, minimal weapons, small crew. Harmless by all appearances. But ZYX Thrall had survived 8 centuries by reading between the lines, and the lines around these humans were very, very quiet. Krillvek, he said slowly. Priority message to Council Archives. Everything on species exhibiting prolonged observational behavior before engagement. And his mandibles clicked uneasily. Check military databases. Cross-reference ambush predators and pack hunters. Sir? They're here for diplomacy. Are they? ZYX Thrall watched the Endeavor adjust orbit with mechanical precision. Or are they here to learn exactly how to destroy us most efficiently? The human ship's external lights dimmed to near invisibility, becoming little more than a shadow against stars. Waiting, watching, silent. For the first time in his long career, Ambassador ZYX Thrall began to understand what fear truly meant. The Grand Assembly Chamber had hosted first contact ceremonies for dozens of species over centuries. The circular amphitheater accommodated wildest physiologies, from gaseous ethereals to silicon-based rockkin. Today, 37 member species filled their sections, each displaying characteristic diplomatic approaches. The Vorthak war chief paced restlessly, multiple arms gesticulating as he spoke loudly about strength. The melody delegate hummed complex harmonies incorporating mathematical concepts. The insectoid hive queen's section buzzed with constant worker drone chatter about resource allocation. In the center sat the human delegation. 3 individuals, silent as space itself. Captain Webb occupied the center seat, flanked by 2 others, a sharp-eyed woman with graying temples, and a younger man who absorbed everything without moving his head. They had been seated 2 hours, and none had spoken a word. Ambassador ZYX Thrall found himself studying them obsessively. Every other species had spent pre-assembly time networking, posturing, or making small talk. The humans simply observed. The delegation from Earth, he announced, amplified voice echoing, will now present their species for Galactic Council consideration. Chamber noise didn't diminish, if anything, it grew louder as various species offered commentary, advice, and in the Vortax case, challenges to ritual combat. Through it all, the three humans remained perfectly still. Then Captain Webb stood. The effect was immediate and inexplicable. Conversations faltered. The melody's harmony developed discordant notes. Even the Hive Queen's drones quieted their buzzing. Within moments, the entire chamber had fallen silent. Webb hadn't said a word. He had simply stood up. "Thank you," he said quietly, voice carrying clearly in the sudden hush. "My name is Marcus Webb. I represent the human species of Earth. With me are Dr. Elena Vasquez, our xenobiologist, and Lieutenant James Park, our cultural analyst." He paused, letting his gaze sweep the chamber. Every being present found themselves leaning forward slightly. "We have listened to your debates for several hours," Webb continued. "We have observed your customs, social structures, approaches to conflict resolution. We have learned much." ZYX Thrall felt a chill. They had been studying them. The humans had turned their first contact ceremony into a massive intelligence-gathering operation. "The question before this assembly," Webb said, "is whether humanity deserves a place among the stars, whether we can contribute to galactic civilization, whether we pose a threat to established order." The silence stretched. Several delegates shifted uncomfortably. "I won't insult your intelligence with elaborate speeches about our achievements," the human captain continued. "You have our technological assessments, cultural profiles, resource inventories. The data speaks for itself." War Chief Gorthak slammed his primary fist against his seat. "Words are wind, human. What do you offer in trial by combat?" Webb turned his quiet gaze toward the massive warrior. "We bring the strength to know when not to fight, War Chief. And more importantly," his voice dropped to barely above a whisper, forcing the entire chamber to strain to hear him, "we bring the wisdom to know exactly how to end a fight before it begins." The humans sat down in perfect unison, and the Grand Assembly chamber had never been quieter. War Chief Gorthak's forearms trembled with barely contained fury. In 300 cycles of life, he had never encountered a species that could command attention through silence, that could make threats without raising their voice. It went against everything the Vortak understood about power. "You speak of ending fights," Gorthak growled, "but you have never faced a true warrior in combat. Your words are clever, human, but words do not stop plasma bolts or fusion hammers." Captain Webb didn't even turn to look at the Vortak chieftain. "Lieutenant Park," he said quietly. The younger human stood smoothly. "War Chief Gorthak, third son of the Hammer clan, current leader of the Vortak military expedition to the Outer Rim. 47 confirmed kills in single combat, veteran of the Siege of Kethnor." His voice was conversational, almost friendly. "You favor your lower left arm due to an old injury from a melody sonic weapon. Your reaction time is 0. 3 seconds slower when attacks come from your upper right quadrant. And you've been taking combat stimulants for 6 months to maintain your edge as age affects your reflexes." The chamber went tomb-like. Gorthak's eyes widened as he unconsciously shifted to protect his left side. "How?" he began. "Body language, breathing patterns, micro-expressions, posture analysis," Park continued calmly. "Your stimulant use is evident in the slight tremor in your secondary hands and pupil dilation. We observed this during your entrance ceremony 3 hours ago." Dr. Vasquez rose. "Vortak military doctrine emphasizes individual prowess and direct confrontation. Admirable, but it has a critical weakness. It assumes your enemy will engage on your terms." Gorthak's fury built dangerously. "You dare analyze me like some laboratory specimen? I challenge you to honorable combat." "We decline," Captain Webb said simply. Shock waves rippled through the chamber. Refusing a formal Vortak challenge was deeply insulting and could trigger immediate hostilities. Ambassador ZYX Thrall leaned forward. Captain Webb, you understand the implications? I understand them perfectly. I also understand that accepting would make humanity an enemy of the Vortak Confederation, which serves no one's interests. You fear to face me, Gortak roared. I fear nothing about you, War Chief, Webb replied with unsettling calm. But I have no need to prove humanity's capabilities by beating you to death. Webb stood again, commanding instant silence. You want to know what humanity brings? We bring an end to the endless cycle of challenges that have kept your people locked in perpetual warfare for centuries. Gortak started to respond, but Webb continued. Your species has been at war continuously for 400 years. You've fought everyone and won many battles. But what have you actually gained? Your territories haven't expanded significantly in 2 centuries. Your population stagnates due to military losses. You are the strongest fighters in known space, and you are slowly dying because strength alone isn't enough. The chamber held its breath. We don't fear your strength. We respect it. But we see what it has cost you. Humanity offers an alternative. The strength of choosing your battles. The power of making enemies defeat themselves. Slowly, deliberately, War Chief Gortak lowered himself back into his seat. I withdraw my challenge, he said quietly. Webb smiled genuinely. Thank you, War Chief. Your restraint shows the wisdom that has kept your people strong. Humanity had just won a war without fighting a single battle. The silence following the Vortak incident stretched for 10 minutes, an eternity in diplomatic terms. The Melody delegation concerned Ambassador HFY Thrall most. The galaxy's most ancient species, their civilization predating others by millennia. They communicated through complex harmonic patterns conveying mathematics, emotions, and philosophy simultaneously. Their music reflected the universe's fundamental frequencies, and they had been completely silent since the humans' arrival. High harmonist Lyralii finally rose from her crystalline alcove. Her ethereal, translucent form existed partially in frequencies beyond normal perception. When she spoke, her voice was like wind chimes crafted from starlight. The new singers bring discord to the great symphony, she began, her words carrying undertones in dimensions other species couldn't fully perceive. Several delegations shifted uncomfortably. The melody rarely spoke directly, preferring musical communication. Standard language usually meant something significant was happening. High Harmonist, Ambassador HFY Thrall said carefully. Please elaborate. Lyralii shimmered, turning toward the humans. For eons, galaxy peoples have sung their parts in cosmic harmony. Each species adds unique voice, Vortak war drums, crystalline geometric crescendos, hive industrial buzz. Even Zephyrian mercantile melodies have their place. She paused, filling the chamber with low, beautiful humming that seemed to emanate from her being. But these humans sing in frequencies we cannot hear. They add silence where there should be sound, create voids in melody where there should be fullness. They are discord made manifest. Captain Webb stood slowly. May I respond, High Harmonist? Speak, silent singer. Let us hear your notes. Webb nodded respectfully. Dr. Vasquez, activate our cultural interface. The xenobiologist touched her wrist device, and air around the human delegation began shimmering with barely visible patterns. Sound made visible, frequency given form. We have been listening to your song, High Harmonist, Webb said, and as he spoke, patterns around him shifted and danced. For 4 hours, we have been analyzing, learning, beginning to understand melody communication's mathematical beauty. Patterns grew complex, and several melody emitted soft, surprised harmonics. We do not sing in frequencies you cannot hear, Webb continued. We sing in frequencies you choose not to listen for. Dr. Vasquez stepped forward, her voice joining Webb's, creating simple but unmistakable harmonic patterns. Silence is not music's absence, High Harmonist. It is the pause between notes that gives melody meaning, the rest that makes rhythm possible. Lieutenant Park added his voice, and the 3 humans began creating something impossible. A song incorporating silence as an instrument, using quiet as harmonic element. The melody delegation erupted in excited musical exchanges, their crystalline forms brightening as they recognized the pattern. "Observe," Webb said, and the visual interface showed the chamber's sound patterns. Every species had been singing constantly, Vortak war drums, crystalline sequences, hive rhythms, all overlapping, competing for acoustic space. The display showed exactly that, beautiful individual frequencies creating chaos when combined. "Now watch," Dr. Vasquez said. The humans' voices joined the display, but instead of adding sound, they created spaces. Their song was composed of strategic silences, pauses allowing other voices clarity, gaps letting individual melodies emerge from chaos. The effect was stunning. As human silence wove through the chamber's acoustic space, competing songs separated and clarified. Every species could hear not just their own voice, but everyone else's. High harmonist Lyralii blazed with brilliant light. "You are not discord," she sang in frequencies making air shimmer. "You are spaces between notes, the silence that makes music possible." "We are conductors," Webb said simply. "We help you hear your own voices more clearly." The chamber filled with beautiful harmony as species adjusted their communications, finding frequencies that complemented rather than competed. "Welcome, silent singers, to the great symphony," Lyralii sang with pure joy. Humanity had just conquered the galaxy's wisest species by teaching them how to listen. As the melody's harmonies faded to gentle background hum, attention shifted to the crystalline confederacy's delegation. The galaxy's master mathematicians and logisticians, their silicon-based consciousness processed vast calculations at near-quantum speeds. If anyone could analyze what the humans were truly doing, it would be them. Prime Calculator Hexacore 9 extended its central processing array, a complex geometric structure existing in several dimensions simultaneously. When it spoke, its voice carried pure mathematics given form. "Probability assessment complete," it announced. "Current tactical situation requires immediate analysis." The crystalline's form shifted through geometric configurations as it processed data. Human delegation, 3 individuals. Observable combat capability minimal. Technological advancement, approximately 73.4% of galactic standard. Military assets in system, negligible. Arrays spinning in complex patterns, it paused. Threat assessment based on available data, 0.0001% probability of successful military action against any council species. Strategic value, undefined. Diplomatic impact, currently unmeasurable. Ambassador ZYX Thrall felt momentary relief. Finally, logical analysis instead of psychological manipulation. However, Hexacore 9 continued, its form suddenly collapsing into tight, defensive configuration. Alternative analysis reveals critical data anomalies. The chamber focused completely on the crystalline delegate. Primary anomaly. Humans achieved 100% success rate in psychological manipulation despite minimal preparation time and no apparent telepathic abilities. This suggests either impossible intuitive capabilities or access to undeclared information sources. Captain Webb remained still, but Dr. Vasquez and Lieutenant Park exchanged the faintest glance. Secondary anomaly. Human delegation demonstrated predictive capabilities regarding species behavior exceeding statistical modeling by 847%. This accuracy requires either prescient abilities or computational resources not evident in declared specifications. Hexacore 9's arrays spun faster, creating low humming. Tertiary anomaly. Humans introduced tactical modifications to every major interaction, yet modifications consistently benefited all parties. Probability of this occurring through chance, 0.0000000001%. The chamber went silent, not respectful quiet, but tense stillness of prey sensing hidden predators. Prime Calculator, ZYX Thrall asked carefully, "What is your conclusion?" The crystalline underwent rapid transformations before settling into defensive sphere. Conclusion: insufficient data. Humans operate with capabilities not matching apparent specifications. They are either significantly more advanced than they appear, or employing methodologies outside established parameters. Captain Webb finally spoke. "May I address the prime calculator's analysis?" "Speak," Hexacore 9 replied, arrays still agitated. Webb stood, commanding chamber response. "You are correct. Our success rate has been unusually high. Our predictive accuracy exceeded norms. Our modifications benefited all parties." He paused. "But you've made a fundamental error leading to wrong conclusions." The crystalline's defensive posture tightened. "State the error." "You assumed our capabilities are technological. You looked for advanced computers, hidden databases, superior processing. But our advantages don't come from technology. They come from something simpler." Dr. Vasquez joined him. "We have been studying your species, all of them, for over 2 centuries. The chamber erupted, but Webb continued calmly. "When your first exploration vessels reached our solar system's edge, we chose to observe rather than reveal ourselves. We studied your ship's communication patterns, behavior. When more species arrived, we studied them too." Lieutenant Park rose. "For 200 years, humanity has been the galaxy's most dedicated xenoanthropologists. We observed 43 species from concealment, analyzing languages, cultures, psychology, social hierarchies. The implications hit like physical blows." Hexacore 9's arrays slowed as new data integrated. "Clarification. You conducted covert surveillance for 200 standard years?" "Observational studies," Webb corrected. "We never interfered or influenced. We simply watched and learned." Prime Calculator completed recalculations. Revised threat assessment. Species possessing detailed intelligence on all major civilizations, combined with demonstrated manipulation abilities. Threat level immeasurable. Recommendation: immediate isolation. But isolation was impossible. The humans weren't requesting entry. They had been inside all along. Webb smiled quietly. "The question isn't whether you'll accept us. The question is whether you're ready to learn what we discovered about you while you weren't watching." The revelation of humanity's 2-century surveillance sent shockwaves through the assembly. Delegates huddled in urgent conferences, confidence replaced by paranoid whispers. The humans sat quietly in the center, 3 figures who had transformed from unknown newcomers into the most knowledgeable beings about everyone present. Trade Minister Veltar of the Zephyrian Union broke the stunned silence. The galaxy's premier merchants and negotiators, their culture built around deal-making. If anyone could turn this situation to advantage, it would be them. "Fascinating," Veltar said, his serpentine form coiling with calculated grace. 2 centuries of market research, industrial espionage on galactic scale. "I'm impressed by your investment scope." His words carried subtle harmonics most species couldn't detect, but conveyed complex meanings to those trained in Zephyrian merchant speak. "Thank you, Trade Minister," Webb replied, carefully neutral. "Though research and espionage are different, espionage implies intent to harm. Research implies intent to understand." Veltar's inner eyelids flickered, amusement and begrudging respect. The human had caught the linguistic trap perfectly. "Understanding has value, Captain Webb," Veltar continued. "Information is the most precious commodity. You've been mining that commodity from us for 2 centuries without compensation." Several delegations stirred. The Zephyrian was reframing everything in economic terms, providing a path forward without military action or isolation. "What do you propose?" Ambassador ZYX Thrall asked, seizing the opportunity. Veltar shifted into negotiation configuration, serious business posture. "Simple. The humans accumulated massive debt. 200 years of observational data on 43 species, psychological profiles, cultural analyses, conservatively worth 400 billion standard credits on intelligence markets." The number sent ripples through the chamber. Humanity possessed information that could destabilize governments, manipulate markets, provide decisive advantages. However, Veltar continued, "I propose treating this as compound interest rather than theft. Humans invested time and resources gathering intelligence. They took risks operating covertly. They revealed activities voluntarily rather than continuing secret exploitation. Captain Webb remained still, but his colleagues had gone completely motionless, intense concentration. Therefore, Veltar announced, I propose humanity receive full council membership immediately, with information debt repaid through exclusive consulting services for 50 standard years. The chamber erupted in discussion. Veltar offered humanity legitimacy while ensuring their dangerous knowledge was controlled through contracts. But Webb was shaking his head slowly. I'm afraid we can't accept those terms, Trade Minister. Refusing Zephyrian contracts was almost unheard of. Our observations were never about gaining advantage, Webb continued, standing. They were about survival. Dr. Vasquez rose beside him. We didn't study you for market advantages. We studied you because we're a young species surrounded by civilizations existing for millennia. We needed to know if we would be safe. Lieutenant Park stood. Every species we observed could sterilize our homeworld without effort. We watched to understand what kind of neighbors we would have. The implications sank in. This wasn't espionage, it was threat assessment for survival. What we discovered, Webb continued, is that you are not conquerors. You are civilized beings capable of reason, negotiation, coexistence. You are exactly the neighbors we hoped to find. Veltar's coils stilled, deep Zephyrian thought. Your surveillance was defensive? Entirely. We offer our most valuable commodity, not intelligence gathered, but perspective gained. We are the only species that observed galactic civilization from outside. We can offer insights you cannot perceive from within. Veltar's form brightened with joy patterns. You're offering genuine partnership rather than transaction. Yes. In 2,000 years of galactic commerce, I've never encountered a species understanding the difference between transaction and relationship. The Zephyrian Union moves for immediate membership. No conditions. Humanity had earned their place through patience, wisdom, and recognizing that true power came from helping others become their best selves. The formal vote for humanity's admission proceeded with surprising swiftness. One by one, delegations voiced support. The melody sang approval in harmonies making chamber walls resonate. The crystallines calculated logical benefits and declared the decision mathematically optimal. Even War Chief Gorthak stood and announced the Vorthak would welcome warriors who fight with wisdom rather than weapons. As the final tally was recorded, unanimous approval, a first in council history, Ambassador ZYX Thrall studied the three humans who had just changed everything. They sat quietly, accepting congratulations with gracious nods, giving no sign they had achieved one of the most remarkable diplomatic victories in galactic history. Captain Webb, ZYX Thrall announced formally, by unanimous vote, humanity is hereby welcomed as the 38th member of the Galactic Council. As Webb approached the dais, the chamber filled with celebration sounds, melody harmonics, crystalline resonance patterns, adapted Vorthak war chants. But beneath the celebration, ZYX Thrall noticed subtle tension in several delegations, wariness that hadn't existed before. Thank you, Ambassador, Webb said, accepting the crystalline data core containing humanity's credentials. We are honored to join this assembly. Captain, ZYX Thrall said quietly, might I ask a personal question? In all my centuries of diplomatic service, I have never seen a species achieve so much through so little direct action. How? Webb's expression grew thoughtful. Ambassador, may I share something we didn't mention during formal proceedings? ZYX Thrall nodded. The decision to reveal ourselves, to request membership, it wasn't made by our government, military, or diplomatic corps. The ambassador's mandibles clicked with confusion. Then who? It was made by our children. ZYX Thrall stared. Your children. Webb's quiet smile returned. For 2 centuries, humanity watched your civilization from shadows. We saw wars, struggles, gradual progress. Our adults debated whether contact was safe, whether we should remain hidden. But our children saw what adults missed, not dangers of first contact, but tragedy of remaining isolated. They saw beings like yourselves building something beautiful together. And they asked us a simple question. Which was? They asked why we were afraid of people who sang to communicate, who solved problems through mathematics, who valued honor, who built communities based on mutual benefit. They asked why we were hiding from the exact neighbors we had always hoped to find. ZYX Thrall felt understanding shift. The perspective you offered, seeing patterns from outside, that wasn't political analysis? No, Webb confirmed. It was the perspective of a species dreaming of joining something like this for our entire history. We didn't study you to find weaknesses. We studied you to understand how to be worthy of membership. The ambassador's carapace tingled. You're telling me humanity's greatest diplomatic triumph was accomplished because your children convinced you to stop being afraid? Yes. Our young people looked at 2 centuries of data and reached a conclusion our experts missed. They realized the species we were most afraid of disappointing were exactly the species most likely to welcome us. As celebration continued, Dr. Vasquez approached. I should mention I'm 28 years old. This is my first diplomatic assignment. Lieutenant Park nodded. I'm 26. I've studied xenoanthropology for exactly 4 years. ZYX Thrall's world tilted. You sent your children to make first contact? We sent our young people, Webb corrected. Our adults were paralyzed by analysis and caution. Our young people saw opportunity instead of threat. They saw you and recognized kindred spirits. The full implications crashed over ZYX Thrall. The species demonstrating unprecedented diplomatic sophistication had done it because their young people convinced them to stop overthinking and start trusting. Humanity's greatest strength isn't our ability to observe, Webb said softly. It's our ability to look at the galaxy and see friends we haven't met yet. ZYX Thrall found himself laughing for the first time in decades. The species he had feared might conquer through intelligence had instead conquered through assuming the best about everyone. Your young people may have taught the entire council something about the difference between wisdom and mere intelligence. As humans were welcomed into conversations by delegation after delegation, ZYX Thrall realized humanity hadn't just joined the council. They had reminded everyone why it existed. Not as competing interests held together by suspicion, but as diverse beings united by believing they were better together. The species that sits in silence had spoken their final words. We believe in you. They had conquered a galaxy simply by loving it.